and we are recording. I am Austin Light with American Demon Comics, and I'm joined by Brandon with Dismay Comics. And we're here to talk about our experiences as creators and thinkers and enjoyers of media and pop culture. How are you doing, Brandon?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. At the beginning of this, like an hour ago, when I had texted you, oh, I just woke up.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that. I briefly had a thing where it was slight panic because I haven't had this happen too often in my life. I woke up and my eyes wouldn't really open. And
Mm.
I felt, I was like, oh my gosh, like there was eye crust and stuff. And I, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, like they won't open. Like doing that. And it reminded me, I don't know if you ever watched Codename Kids Next Door growing up, but there's an episode of that where I think it's like parents or someone like
Mm-hmm.
use children to like harvest like their eye crust, and they
Yeah.
make like crumb cakes or something out
Oh
of it. I can't
gosh, I
remember.
vaguely
It's
remember that.
terrifying, but like
Yeah.
it reminded me of that as soon as I like got all the eye crust off. So random little thing, but it's been in the back of my mind.
No, what that makes me think of is also a 2000 cartoon in Ed, Ed and Eddie. Ed was going around, I can't open my eyes, Ed, I can't open my eyes. And Eddie was like, open your eyes, Ed. And he goes, oh.
Yeah,
Because I've had that experience before where I couldn't open my eyes.
yeah,
But anytime I can't open my eyes, it reminds me of that episode. I just go,
yeah.
open your eyes. And I go,
Oh,
okay. Uh, but I've had that experience before. It's not fun, and it's usually in sleep paralysis where it's like, okay, I can feel myself waking. I'm like in the process of waking up, but I know
mhm.
that I haven't woken up totally. So I'm just trying to get myself to wake up, but I'm just completely paralyzed. Like, get up, get out of this dream. And sometimes I'll be dreaming that I'm in a place in a bed that's completely normal, but I wake up and I'm like where I'm supposed to be in bed. Completely, it's like going from like a hotel room or somebody else's home or something to my home.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very surreal. But I guess that's what dreams are. So, we wanted to go over the Comics Wellspring email that was sent out, and I didn't read everything about it. It did pique my interest, and I did read some passages about where they get hung up, uh, and all their stuff about moving, and partly took that with a grain of salt as because of your previous experiences. Um, but they did take a step forward with this little email trying to clarify some of these problems that they've had and trying to offer promises in the future of what might be to come.
Yeah.
So,
Like I didn't I didn't read all of it, but I skimmed through it, and then like at least half of it I read like all the paragraphs,
mhm.
but I skimmed
This
through
was a
most
long
of it.
email,
Though.
people.
Yeah, it was long. It was long.
There
Which I
was a
mean, like at the end of the day, I'm okay with. It's better
mhm.
than like nothing, or them sending like two sentences being like, "Hey, we've had some issues. We're gonna do better." I'd rather, because that's the gist of the email. Is
Mhm.
like that's the thesis essentially
Yeah,
is
but it was a
we've
little
had
bit more
issues.
transparency.
Yeah, there was a lot more detail to it, and transparent with us that have used Comics Wellspring. Um, I don't know, like the email, it ultimately is it is just they're giving this statement sort of thing, but I don't know, like it seems. I mean, we'll have to see in practice. We'll see
Yeah,
when we make
exactly.
orders and stuff like that if any of it is true. But I don't know. It just seems like I don't know how long this new CEO has been the head of
Mm-hmm.
Comics Wellspring, because I don't know if he was there like 3 4 years ago. I don't recognize the guy's name.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, like maybe he has only been there a year, 2 years, 3 years, but hey, that new leadership, maybe it's kind of what it needs in terms of like a kick in the pants and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know, this email, ultimately we do have to wait till we get orders to see if they fulfill it, but it made me feel better
Mm-hmm.
about Comics Wellspring. It's like what you said, they were being very transparent about things. They acknowledged their issues, and they talked about trying to make things right, stepping in the right direction, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave some details into that. It wasn't just like, we're going to try better, gang. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't just that. They gave some details. So Comics Wellspring, uh, this was good. This was good of you to do, to send this email out, um, especially with people having just so many issues the past 2 3 years with Comics Wellspring. I think it's good that they sent this email out, um, as well as like some people have argued. I haven't entirely said this, but I've seen people say this of like Comics Wellspring is before this email is losing its focus, sort of thing, because it was this printing company, it was this printing comics company, and then the past 2 or 3 years they have started their own convention. They have started a podcast, which I have no issue with that. I
Right.
love Brandon Blocksdorf. Guy is a great guy. I love him. Um, and then multiple other things. They started all these things, and some people kind of question like, are are you losing focus? Like, hey, it's good you're doing all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff, but keep in mind, like, the number one thing we came to you for is quality, affordable comic printing.
Yeah. That's
And
what me and you brought up one time.
yeah, yeah, like the past 2 or 3 years, it seems like it that hasn't been the focus because we've seen all these issues and stuff. But I don't know, this email, it's step in the right direction. It seems reassuring to me. Um, it has me feeling okay with trying them,
Mm-hmm.
um, in the future. It won't be Gallows Man 3 because I've been settled on a printer years ago, sort of thing,
Right.
with Gallows Man. But I don't know, maybe with another comic that is a
Oh,
lower
you got
print
plenty of
run,
them.
sort of thing. Yeah, yeah.
Plenty to
Like,
choose from.
yeah, like a lower print type thing. Like I'll most likely try with Comics Wellspring again.
Um, yeah, with that, I really don't have a whole lot to add. We are just going to be watching and waiting. From my previous experience, just now, they really seem to have had me prioritized. I got my comics last Friday. I've been able to bag and board a lot of them, and I'm starting to give them out to people that are local that pledged and stuff like that. And and then when the other, I got some other little products that I want to send out with um, some flat products I want to send out with the
Kickstarter.
Kickstarters fulfillment. And when those come in, I'll be able to send them out, and all in perfect time because I think I'll have Kickstarter fulfilled and done before the Paracon, and then
That'll be good.
I'll have a box. Then I'll have a box full of my copies ready to take over there. So without having to do last minute bag and boards and last minute organizations and making sure things are accounted for to make sure they go to the right people, um, and it's like not in the middle of everything. Like had I got these right before the Paracon, I would have had to make sure that I count for like, oh, okay, these are going to be mailed out, and then these are the ones that I can keep to go to the con. So
Yeah.
no headaches like that. And
So there
so
haven't, with talking about your order, there haven't been many issues or anything.
no, uh, the when I sent back the proof, the last digital proof that kind of was an edit to the physical proof, um, and got it approved. It came back just like I sent it in, and again, there are some little bit. There's a little some spaces where the margins are just a little too close to the edge of the page, but that's a lot of my fault more so than their problem.
Mm.
Um, and with my broad my art my pages with art that's broad, that makes it a little difficult. So but everything that they sent has been in good quality. I redid the issue number one with the template that they had sent, so issue number one looks really good. And all this also comes with experience in how you put the pages together and format it and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Just from your side of it, not their side of it. Their side of it was to make sure the proofs were correct, get them uh, printed, get them shipped, and that's what they did. So I was able to get a physical proof and then get all my comics in the same, you know, in plenty of time. So
And so with the copies you got that you've been bagging and boarding, for the most part, not really any issues with most of them.
not that I've seen. I'll get like a pack of them and open, the top and then look through the bottom, kind of go back and forth between what's in the top and the bottom, and keep packing them. But even as you tear them off, you tear off those cover pages, you can see the quality of every cover and back cover is all very consistent. So from what I've seen, I haven't had any problems. Now I've only opened about half of them because that's all I needed, and it took about 3 or 4 hours one night of me just opening and bag and boarding them, opening
Yeah.
them up and bag and boarding them. So I still probably have about another 3 hours to go on doing that with
Nice.
the other ones. Uh, so I haven't seen all of them, but
Right, right.
what I
But
do
the ones you
have
have
has
seen,
been good.
that's good.
Uh, but yeah, it's a good step in the right direction. I think it sounds like they have hopes and dreams that seem a little far fetched, but with the latest of how they did this order, maybe it could be on the horizon. But doing it sounds almost like a print on demand uh of quantity. If you that I think that email kind of put out that vision in the first paragraph of like, imagine a world where we can send you your finished product like within a week, and without shipping prices and this and that. And if their prices have gone up, and if that can account for shipping costs, then that would be totally worth it. If they can get rid of,
Yeah, yeah.
all shipping costs and that kind of thing, that would make it that much more worth it. I did do a quote. So me and Brandon have our little project going on, and we're uh, looking at the formats and the different papers and stuff to put it on. And I went to Comics Wellspring to look at their smallest book they had. It's like a 4x6 or something. I made these, each panel that I made for the project is double the size of the little square that it is. So it can be much bigger.
Right.
And the quote on that little like A6, I think is what they call it, four
Mhm.
by six comic was for, I think I put 300 in. because we can easily get 300 from uh, copies from other places
Yeah, yeah.
for cheaper, but they wouldn't be stapled in like a full-fledged comic. But I was just looking at Comics Wellspring to see, and that was going to be another $1,000. I was like, whew. They were like $4 a unit.
It's weird because I just looked up and it's not there. I remember 2 or 3 years ago, Comics Wellspring had a mini comic section where it
Hmm.
is basically like BVC, where it's just sheet of paper and then you
Hmm.
do it yourself sort of thing.
Hmm.
But it's not there anymore, so I guess they got rid of it.
Yeah, that's one of the things he said in the email too, is that they're trying to trim the edges, like trying to separate the wheat from the chaff, I guess you could say, to make sure that everything that they do is streamlined for the
Yeah.
printing process so that it can be faster and stuff. Um, so they said that they're getting rid of some things that they've done before and adding other things, or you know um, they also have a big reward structure in place where you buy things, you get reward points. You buy things, you get reward points. They constantly have discounts and stuff going on. The sad truth is, I can get their retractable banner on Amazon. The one that I got off Amazon
Mhm.
was like $80, and it's
Now
massive.
is that a table retractable one, or you
No,
mean
it's
like
the
one that
big one.
stands up in the Oh, wow,
Hmm.
that's a really good deal.
And so I could get two of those for $180, while their retractable banners run about
It's
150,
200.
200.
Yeah,
Right.
because I bought their retractable banner, like, 2.5 years ago,
Yeah.
and it's good.
So,
It's good quality, but at the time, there was nothing that was cheaper because I did
mhm,
do research into other companies and stuff, and I don't even think there was, like, a reliable Amazon option at that time.
mhm.
So, well, I'll keep that in mind if I gotta do retractable banners again.
But I was just saying, and I got my very first one off of Vistaprint for about
Mhm.
150, or no, it was about 100. It was right from 100, 120, but they had bumped up the price on it, and it was a smaller one. Like, it was a little bit smaller than the big
Yeah,
one that
yeah.
I got. And so I was like, they bumped up the price. Let me look somewhere else. And I went to Amazon, and they had the whole print section for that. So uh, I went with Amazon, and I was like, this is one heck of a deal. I can't pass this up. And I got the tablecloth from Vistaprint too. I think Amazon's got cheaper ones. The sad truth of it is that Amazon has these same products for much cheaper,
Yeah,
and the reward points that I would accumulate, I don't think are going to overlap that expense,
yeah.
because I I feel like in theory I could get everything from Comics Wellspring: the jewel boxes, the tablecloths, the banners, the comics, bookmarks. I could
In
get
theory,
everything from them.
yes, but if
And
you're
that,
not rich and you actually are valuing every
mhm.
dollar, I don't think it's a good idea.
And the bag and boards and all the stuff that they offer, to try and accumulate reward points. But I don't think
Mhm.
those reward points would still offset the uh, how cheap it is to get these things elsewhere.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think I had mentioned this before, but for those getting bags and boards, depends. Maybe your local comic shop ain't as graceful. Get your bags and boards at your local comic shop. Unless you're getting like giant bulk of bags and boards, you can find some websites that do like
mhm,
thousands sort of thing. If you're not doing that, just get it from your local comic shop. It's so much cheaper than getting it from like Comics Wellspring or Bags Unlimited or like any other
mhm,
website sort of thing, or getting like a I forgot what the one of the big bag and board brands. I think it's like BWC or something like that.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I
Don't
think I've seen that before.
don't get that online. Likely your comic shop has BWC bags and boards, and it's a lot cheaper because that's usually what I get, and it's at my local comic shop. So for those out there, if you're getting bags and boards, go to your local comic shop for that. It's a lot cheaper.
So, my local comic book shop, they were out of bags and boards. They were
Hmm.
like, we are behind 700 boards right now. So they have a lot of comics to bag and board constantly. So they are running low or, out of those. So I had to go to to Amazon, and all their options were like uh $30, I would say, like on average,
For
100.
both 100 bags, 100 boards.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
It was about 35, maybe $40.
that's what I usually see is around
And
35, 40.
and I found some that are currently running at about $18 for 100. And they come with little ceiling stickers. Uh,
It's a pretty good
and
deal.
yeah, so uh, I had to kind of dig a little bit to find them, and I've been putting my comics in them. Um, and they fit. They run a smidgen a little bit smaller than like the good bag and boards.
Yeah, yeah,
Because those bigger bag and boards allow you to really easily put in the
yeah. It
comic, and
has
it
some
still looks,
room.
yeah, it still looks good, and you could fit some little bonus stuff in there. These are a little bit tighter of a fit, but I don't mind it. Like once you got the hang of putting the board in, the comic could slide right in.
Yeah,
If you When I made the process out of it, it was just as easy. Um, I want to see if I can share that real quick.
yeah. Because I think my local comic shop, it's $8 for a pack of 100 bags, and then I think boards are like $12 for a pack of 100. So about $20 to $22 is what my comic shop does. Let's see.
But I want to say they were 15 when I first bought them, so the price might be steadily going up on these.
Okay.
But they're still remarkably cheaper than the other ones that I looked
Yeah,
at.
yeah.
And they could be coming from, you know, slave workshops in China. I don't know.
They likely are. But all of this is.
But they saved me um 30 or $40 from buying, because I bought 200, so I got this twice, and that would have been, so that's under $40, and that would have been $80 otherwise for other bags and boards.
Yeah.
And that jacks up that unit price per comic. So that's what I went with.
Yeah. Yeah, which I get the unit price thing. I'm now thinking about comic shops, and I know this does take a long time. Um, but man, would I like the new comics to be bagged and board. I know some comic shops do that, but most do not. They just leave the floppies out, and you can buy them. Um, but
And they don't bag and board it.
they don't bag and board them.
Mine,
Like
mine
the
do.
newer ones, stuff within like the past 5, 6 months that are still on the shelves.
Oh, okay.
And that's the thing is like some do actually bag and board, but like I've seen a lot that don't. I kind of hate that. Um, and I get it. Yes, essentially per unit, which comic shops are buying in bulk, so they're not paying what we're paying. But let's say it's 10 to 15 cents per bag and board unit, sort of thing. Yes, that's a little extra. At the very least, though, if you're not going to bag and board them, have bags and boards ready at the register. What I mean is like the it's bag
Yeah,
and board. All you got to do is put your comic in, you're good. Have those ready at the register and make it optional to buy a bag and board with that one comic you just bought.
yeah.
Do that, and here's the thing: you can charge 50 cents per bag and board. People will buy. I'll buy it. I hate walking out with a floppy sort of thing.
Hmm.
That's a whole other tangent, but and like
Well,
you said, not all comic shops do that. Yours doesn't, but I've seen a lot that do that where they
when I was at the
don't bag
Deep
and board them.
the very first like few times, and I bought some comics to kind of catch up on years ago, uh, they didn't have them in bags and boards on the wall, so um, I just was gonna check out with it, and they asked me bag and board, and I was like, "What?" And they're like, "Bag and board," and I was like, "I don't know what that is." They're
What
like,
are you
"You want us to put
speaking?
it in a bag with a board?" And I was like, "Yes." um, so they would put the comic in those, and it was like kind of optional
Yeah, yeah.
with a question, and I just kind of thought that's how they always operated.
I wish it was that case. Like
And I
I
think
think
the
that's a
few
good way
times
of
that I
doing
got a
it.
comic at the Green Brothers, I would get the floppy, check out, and as I was running the card, they would already be putting it in a bag and board
Okay,
for
see,
me.
if comic shops could just do that, I'd be okay with that. And if you want to, I don't say you should, but if you want to charge 25 cent, 50
Hmm.
cent for that extra thing, you can do that as well.
I
Like
wouldn't mind
just
25 cents or 50
yeah, yeah,
cents. I
yeah,
mean, or 30 cents or something like that.
yeah.
If we get up to like $1 or something, I'd be like,
No, no, now that's
wait a
outrageous.
minute.
Yeah. It's like no, no, no. I'll just buy 100 bags and boards here.
Hmm.
I'm not doing that. But yeah, like
Well, that might be that would be the incentive. I mean, if you're really going to lean into if you were going to
selling
lean
bags.
into that, that they would probably be like, oh, it's $1 to have a bag and board, or you could just get in bulk our bags and boards. And so it's
Yeah,
kind of
but
like it's like, I know you're, it's like, yeah, but that's kind of sleazy. It's like, well, that's what they do in just about everything. And like,
if they want to have that high upcharge of a bag and board, just leave it at 50 cent. That's high enough. You're making a profit per bag and board. And it also isn't too high for customers to just opt for that decision.
right.
So
No, I
for all
get
the
you.
comic shops out there, take our advice. We know what we're talking about. We've
We are
never
the
ran a comic
consumers.
shop before.
um we are the consumers and we are the sellers.
Yes.
uh Okay, so you wanted to discuss this Lawrence of Arabia theater experience.
Okay.
I
Yes.
don't
So
know what this is. I'm 0% into this topic.
I'll be
Like,
brief
or
about
that's
it.
my level of
But
knowledge
the
of what
one
it is.
thing the one thing I'll mention. Okay, so I'll first mention this. Lawrence of Arabia. It's a big movie from the 60s. Up until a week and a half ago, I had never seen it. I've wanted to see it for like a few years now, but everyone has always said like, "Hey, it might be best to just wait for like a theatrical re-release sort of thing." It's like, okay. So I waited. They had the like a weekend theater thing about a week and a half ago, and I went to see it. And Lawrence of Arabia, movie from like 1961, 1962, and it's this big epic movie that is 4 hours long. It's a 4 hour long movie. Back when the 50s and 60s, if you look up like what's the best movies from the 50s and 60s, almost all of them are 3.5 hours longer.
Yeah.
Like, but So it's 4 hours long. It has an intermission in it. It's that long. Um, but it's one of those things I wanted to see for a while. It's in a lot of like top 100 movies of all times lists. It's usually in like the top 20 movies of all time list.
Hmm.
Um, I saw it with some buddies, and talking about the quality of the movie, amazing. And I also see how it changed, if not inspired, a lot of modern cinema. And also, it holds up on its own today. I saw it in theaters. There's moments and stuff where I'm like oohing and ahhing because
Mm.
there's like beautiful shots and stuff. Because it's about an actual guy. It's like T.E. Lawerence. He was a British officer in like the early 1900s, and he got stationed in like Arabia, basically, and he's a big player and reason of like modern day Middle East, like what it kind of looks like, sort of thing. And so it's just kind of that, and he's seen as a hero by a lot of people. He also did some not great stuff, and the movie explores both of those. It's not just like, here's this epic hero piece. The last half of it starts that way, and then it goes downhill of like wasn't the best stuff he did sometimes. Some war crime sort of stuff here and
Hmm.
there. Um, but like, I mention all this to say, like, it inspired Star Wars. It inspired Dune. Before the Dune movies, the Dune books. Like, it
Mm.
inspired the Dune books because Dune's desert planet.
Yeah.
Almost this entire movie is set in the desert. Um, so there's a lot of things that it inspired, and also it's just like beautiful. Like, I don't know if you've seen the modern day Dune movies, like Dune Part One, Dune Part Two. Like,
I haven't.
clearly the director, and I looked it up after, and this is true. Clearly the director loved Lawrence of Arabia and took a ton of inspiration from that for these modern day Dune movies. So I mention all this to say, yes, Lawrence of Arabia, amazing movie. I liked it a lot. It kind of saddened me about modern day movies because I watched it. I was like, we have devolved, like,
We have
like,
fallen.
especially for this year. Like, this year is like a weak year for movies,
Hmm.
and like a big reason for that is like the writer's strike of last year,
Hmm.
and that's when stuff would have been in production for it to come out this year, sort of thing. So that plays a big factor. But like, yeah, watching that, and then, no offense to Deadpool Wolverine or Alien, and I won't even say Deadpool Wolverine, but no offense to like Alien Romulus, or like, what's some other big movies that have come out recently. Most big movies that have come out recently,
Long legs.
like Long Legs, yeah, like no offense to all these, but it's like, man, our we've changed.
I just remembered a movie that I watched recently, but you go ahead.
Well, the thing is, like we've changed in that, like, this is what a theatrical experience is.
Hmm.
Like now that's been recaptured with some stuff this year. I think Dune Part 2, very much like, you have to see this in the theater. Like, Dune Part 2, I told my buddy Tio that. He hasn't seen any of the Dune movies. I don't know if he ever will. He needs to get off his butt and see them because like they're really good. I know the reason I say that is I know he will be into it.
Hmm.
I know he will, but he hasn't seen them yet. Um, but like, yeah, it's beautiful. One of the best movies this year, Dune Part 2. But I don't know, the most movies this year just aren't a whoa. Like, this is great.
Hmm.
Even the indie movies, like Civil War was really good. And I think that was like a good theatrical experience. And it has like a quarter the budget of like a Marvel movie, basically.
Right.
Um, and I know this is unfair because a lot of people will put like Lawrence of Arabia, this movie from the 60s, in like top 20 movies of all time lists and stuff. But it's like, I don't know. maybe we can take inspiration from these things from the past and apply it to modern day movies sort of thing.
You got me curious. I got to go see this.
It it's really good. The one thing, this is going to sound mean, maybe wait till it comes back in theaters, which I don't know when that will be. Like, I think the 65th anniversary is coming up in like 2 or 3 years.
Mm,
Maybe wait for that because like I don't know if it was my favorite theater experience, but like it's up there. Like top 5, top 10 theater experiences I've had cuz it was I saw it with some friends. It's this big epic and these beautiful shots in the desert and stuff, and it's just like you're just like, holy crap, this is 1961 and it looks more beautiful than almost anything that comes out today. The story is also really good. Like it's the rise of this guy who revolutionized the Middle East sort of thing, and then not entirely a downfall, but kind of his downfall. And the reason they have that is it's not like entirely bashing the guy in terms of the movies. He had books, like he wrote books back then, and a lot of his thoughts are what inspired the stuff in the movie of like he didn't know who he was sort of thing. Like whether it was British officer or a revolutionary for this Middle Eastern area.
hmm
He had conflicts with who he was, as well as like what he was doing. Was it right? Was it wrong? At some point in his books, as well as in the movie, he confesses that like killing these people, he's scared because he liked it, sort of thing. Like he liked the action, the he liked war a little too much, and he was scared about that, and that's why he would often try to like pull out and be like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, and
hmm
he'd get roped back in sort of thing. um and another thing with this movie, a lot of nuance. You don't have to spell out what the character is thinking. You don't have to like have him say, man, this has been a rough day for me. I don't know how I'm going to go about doing this anymore. I what am I doing? Like
hmm
I want to die or what? Like you just have that through acting,
Yeah.
subtle acting sometimes, and the
Showing, not
audience
telling.
can pick that up. Exactly. And there's so many movies nowadays, mostly big blockbuster movies, the big Hollywood movies. Indie movies I think are pretty good today. But the big movies that everyone sees, it's just like, does Hollywood just think we're stupid? And maybe that is the case with some people, but I
hmm
think the majority of people, it's like, no, like
Well, there's something like when you get it right, it can kind of trans. I just heard the sentence before it came out of my mouth. It can kind of transcend stupidity because it can kind of and but I say that on behalf of like myself. I might not understand or get something right off the bat during a movie, but I still really enjoyed it and I can't really tell you why. But then later, like maybe reflecting or something, it kind of comes to me or somebody kind of says it in a video or
yeah,
something
yeah.
and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's like that makes sense. That's why I like that part." Like that's
Yeah.
why that
It was, yeah.
resonated.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, you it resonated with you or you liked it, but you couldn't put it into words. And then you see
Mhm.
that video essay or someone review it. I've had that happen before. Like there have been times where it's like I can't pinpoint why I like this or what was good about this, but then I'll see someone talk about it or whatever, and it's like, oh, that's it.
Mhm.
That's what was good about it. So yeah, it's one of those things where I don't know if Lawrence of Arabia is for everyone. I think the majority of people would really like it. The modern TikTok audience, I'm not sure because one, it is a 4 hour movie.
Mhm. Bro, you know how awesome it'd be to have an intermission?
No, that was also cool. First time like the first time in one movie where I've had an intermission. I've done an intermission before where they sometimes show like the classic Universal Monsters movies at AMC. And one of the years I saw The Mummy, and then there was an intermission, and then it was Bride of Frankenstein. So it was two movies, but for one movie, like there was an intermission, and it was like
Mhm.
built into the movie as well. That's how they had it, because like the first part ends, and then like in the classic 1960s thing, it says intermission,
Yeah,
and then you have 15 minutes to go to the bathroom, get popcorn, all that sort of thing.
right.
It was cool because yeah,
Because
once
like
that first part was done, that first part was 2.5 hours long. It ends, and like me and my buddies, we were all just looking like, man, that was awesome. Because the last part of the first part of that first 2.5 hours is like the big epic thing that happens. It's
Mhm.
Lawrence and all the people. This isn't a spoiler, really. This is history. They take over this compound, basically this place that's by a seaport, sort of thing. Um, and then you have it sort of end, and you have the intermission, and we're all just like, man, I'm really liking this. Like,
Mhm.
I didn't know what to expect with this movie, but we were all like, this is great. And we just discussed it throughout the intermission. Then,
Yeah,
well, we went to go pee.
right.
Then,
See,
then
that's
discussed.
why I'm like, an intermission would be great for most movies, just to like go to the restroom, reflect
Yeah,
on
yeah.
maybe what you just watched, get a snack, you know, and
I'd almost say like,
and then feel like you pick back up on the
yeah,
movie.
yeah. If they can do the writing properly, which I mean, it's Hollywood writers, they're professional writers, they're getting paid a decent pay. They should be able to do this. Any movie that's like 2.5 hours or more, I'd be okay with an intermission.
Mhm.
Um, I'd prefer it for like 3 hours or more.
Yeah.
Um, but there are some times in a 2.5 hour movie where I'm like, this is dragging. Like, it's to where an intermission might help. It might give me a time to reflect, think,
Yeah.
get out of the seat, all that sort of thing, to where I jump back in and I watch the last hour, and it's not as bad, sort of
Right.
thing. Um,
Yeah.
but
Oh shoot, I lost what we watched like I was telling you the other or before we started, that the other night we watched this Wendigo movie. And this movie is like an hour and 10 minutes. But we got through like 30 minutes of it. I was like, oh my God, how long is this movie? We were like, damn, what's going on? It felt like it had been like an hour or two. And it was only, it was only halfway through the movie, but
yeah,
that 30 minutes felt like an hour. And we paused it and it was like, oh, it only has 30 minutes to go, but we've only been watching it for 30 minutes. Like,
that's really bad too. If a movie that's an hour, hour and 10 minutes, and here's the thing, this isn't anything against you. I've had those experiences.
mhm,
I'll mention one experiences with like shorter stuff, where it's
mhm.
like long short films, and I'm like, oh my God, what is this doing? Like, I'm just constantly checking my watch, just like, how much longer in this thing? And that's really bad if that's the case with like, because what I was talking about was a 40-minute short horror film that I saw at a film festival. Like, I
Mhm,
saw it, and yes, it was like beautiful black and white and stuff, and I love black and white, but it was just so slow, and the
mhm.
dialogue was so slow, and I was just like, dude, I'm about to fall asleep. Like, this is it's only
When's
40 minutes
the
long.
intermission?
Yeah, intermission for a 40-minute movie. But you said with the Wendigo thing, it's hour 10 minutes. It
Mhm,
felt really long. I've seen a lot of movies that are hour 10, hour 20 minutes where I'm like, oh my gosh, what's taking so long?
mhm.
And then, at least for my experience, you have a 4-hour movie that at no point was I like checking my
Yeah,
watch or anything. It was just like,
yeah.
"Oh, I'm in it. Time is
Mhm.
passing." Like, I think the most recent movie where, like, I had no idea how long it was till the end of the movie, but time passed so quickly with it, was the most recent Miles Morales Spider-Man movie,
Yes.
Across the Spider-Verse or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was like less than 2 hours. I think it was like 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
It went by so quick
Mm-hmm.
to where I was like, holy crap, like that's how you do it. That's how
Right.
you don't have people be bored and checking their the time every
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes. Like that movie went by so fast, and yet it's a 2.5 hour long movie.
Yeah, I'm
So,
excited to watch that again and see part 3. Oh, they do those movies really well.
oh yeah, yeah.
Um, Now I did want to touch on a movie that we watched recently. It's from 2022. I completely forgot that it has been since we last spoke that we watched this, and it's called Fall. Um,
Oh, is that the one where it's they're on like a tower thing?
mhm.
I've been wanting to see that.
It's worth a watch.
Okay, okay. Because I remember
Now,
when it came out in theater, I was like, "Oh, I might could see it. I'll have to see," and I wound up not seeing it.
yeah, man, if I had watched that in theaters, I would have vomited. I don't know.
Really?
That's what that one really hits on my fear of heights.
Oh yeah,
Now,
yeah,
this is something that's like universal. Like, if people find themselves this high up, it's
yeah, yeah.
really
Yeah,
anxious and
they're like 1,000, 2,000 feet up or
yeah.
whatever.
Um, but it's a good movie, worth the watch. And honestly, the acting's good. Like, it's pretty good. Um, it's more so kind of like the bad decision making kind of thing that you kind of get frustrated with. However, it's like still believable. It's still like in this realm of like people do actually do this.
Yeah, yeah. And it's
I've
also like the
seen,
heat of the moment. People
yeah,
can do some dumb stuff in the heat of the moment.
um, and uh, in at times it's a frustrating movie, and in it also moves um, a little bit quicker than it's like you feel like the climax is at a certain part of the movie, and it feels like it's getting to that part really fast, but then you kind of come to find out that's not what this movie is. This journey to is not what's the movie centered on. So it's more of like survival. It's very cool, very awesome um, concept that I think they really just did it right. Like, this particular idea of being somewhere very high up and very isolated and stuff. I think they took this idea and really did a good job with it. So um, that is a movie that uh, I recommend, and people scored it high just because of how much fear it induced. Like, again, it's not like the acting and stuff was just phenomenal, and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
these aspects of it were just great. Um, but the fear that induced my my hands were sweating the whole time, my feet were sweating, I was nervous, and my girlfriend was laughing at me. But it there are points where if you're not afraid of heights, you go, oh god,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So um
There's only been like one other movie. Maybe there's a couple others. I just can't think of them. There's only been one other movie where like I don't have this specific fear, but in watching the movie, I felt it.
mhm.
Like that fear, and that was with The Descent, part 1.
Yeah.
Or you just say The Descent. We don't have to talk about part 2. Um The Descent, like I'm not claustrophobic, but in watching that movie, especially like the first half of it, because
Yes.
the first half has nothing. If anyone hasn't seen the movie, there's underground monster people. It's
Splunking.
cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, like what is revealed halfway through the
Hmm.
movie, like the people that are
Yeah.
mutated, sort of thing. Um, Before that, it ultimately is just these guys or these girls splunking, but it's scary because of the
Hmm.
claustrophobia and stuff that happens with that. To where, yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
I was like you saying, like clenching my fist and stuff. Like I'm not claustrophobic, but like
Right.
that movie, like gave me that feeling, kind of
Hmm.
put it in me, sort of thing.
I'm not particularly claustrophobic either. Now, if I ever feel like I'm in a situation where my legs cannot move and my arm cannot move, that freaks me out, you know? Um, but that movie does do a good job. I like how it's set up in that movie because the real threat isn't really presented, um, but it's setting up like all these other obstacles of like
Yeah.
scare and fear of like this actual activity that you're doing, you know.
Oh yeah.
And then if you watch splunking videos, people do it in much worse, you know,
Yeah.
conditions
Oh yeah.
that are
Yeah.
way more claustrophobic than what the movie did. So it is a that's the other side of the spectrum of going up really high is going down really
Yeah.
getting into the rocks and the
Yeah. The Descent is in my personal like top 10 favorite horror
Mhm.
movies. I love The Descent.
I really enjoyed it too. Um, all right. Now, uh, Brandon, you have the Gallows Man stuff going on.
Yes. A lot has been going on with that. At time of recording, less than 3 weeks away from launch of the Kickstarter. Um, just a lot that's been going on the past month with this sort of thing, but it's all been good. It's just kind of like a progress report sort of thing. So the comic is probably going to be done in the next couple days. Like I
Hmm.
had mentioned before, there were only a few minor edits that I had sent to Helen, like the last minor edits, and then she was making one page into 2 pages, and before we started recording, she sent me this email with the edits and all that stuff. So, like later today, I'll go through it, and likely all of that will be good to go. To where, yeah, next couple of days, the whole comic will be completely done. Um, the Kickstarter page is now done. I finished it yesterday or the day before in terms of everything. Like
Hmm.
before, when you uh, uh, try to get the pre-launch page, like when you send it in for review, you have to have like some of it done in order
Right.
to be able to send it in to review. But now, like pretty much all of it's done. The only things I got to add is the trailer, as well as the stretch goals. And the trailer, I hired the guy yesterday, so within the next week, like the editor for the trailer, within the next week, trailer will be done, and the stretch goals. So I'm thinking about these. I've thought about these for like the past month or so. Um, I'm definitely doing this because I've done it with the past two Gallows Man ones. It'll be a bookmark for the first stretch goal. In Gallows Man 1 Kickstarter, it was a Gallows Man bookmark. In the second Gallows Man, it was a Newsboy bookmark. This one, it'll be a Bertwald, aka Masked Butler, bookmark. Um, he's a character that was seen in Gallows Man 1 and 2, but in this one has more involvement in terms of crime fighting sort of thing with them. So that'll be one. The second one I'll probably do is a 5 page digital comic from a future Tales from Town City issue. Uh, it's one of those that Helen did a year or so ago. Back at that time when I was like, yes, I need to get Tales from Town City #2 ready to go and ready in like the next year. But then as time went on, I was like, I need to put this on the back burner. This isn't a main priority. All this other stuff is a main priority. But that 5-page story, I figure like, can have it as like a digital stretch goal. Like
That'd be
people
cool.
can read
Yeah.
it. I think it's a funny little thing. Especially this is a Gallows Man thing. This 5-page digital comic ties in with issue 2 of the Gallows Man. Like it fits in the middle of something that happens. Like literally the first page of this 5-page comic is a page from Gallows Man number 2. It's just
Hmm.
like, oh, this is what happened whenever Gallows Man went away, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, so that'll be the second one. The third one will either be a sticker, but most likely a poster print of that wraparound cover of the variant cover.
Yeah.
I I think that'll be a great poster print.
Yeah.
So that'll be a thing. And then I was going to talk to you about this. I'll see um, if it'll happen or not. But possibly having the Halloween mini comic just as a stretch goal, just as like a thing to like just get it out there, sort of thing.
Hmm.
Um, I was just trying to think of because ultimately I'm giving it out at Halloween. I'm giving it out at conventions, and this was another thing where it's like, in terms of like what we had talked about with like per unit cost and staples don't cost much, but if you factor staples into your cost and stuff, you're
Hmm.
looking at like maybe at most 20 cents a
At
unit sort of
most.
thing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, oh yeah, I just like give out, like, let's say I have 40 physical backers in the Gallows Man number 3 thing. It's like, yeah, I just give out 40 of them. Um, and I was just thinking like it could either be a stretch goal or I'll just put it in there without people knowing.
Yeah.
But I wanted to check with you on that. Uh,
I think it'd be good just to put in there.
okay, yeah, I
Um,
might do that.
so is that going to be in place of the third or the fourth stretch goal? The
Fourth
fourth. Yeah.
probably, yeah.
Um.
Because normally I only have 3 stretch goals with these. I
Hmm.
usually it's like every 500 or every 750, I'll have a new stretch goal sort of thing.
Um. I don't know. I think the fourth stretch goal could be a sticker or something.
Yeah, I might do that. But yeah, I think I'll stick with the 3. If it's all right with you, I might just throw in the Halloween
Yeah.
comic.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
fine
cause
with that.
at that, like,
We're gonna have
usually with
500
these,
each.
yeah, I was gonna say, usually with these, I have no more than 40, 50 physical backers to where it's like, yeah, at the end of the day, that's like, I can't do the math off the top of my head, but that's like $10 maybe. So it's like, oh, like unit cost for me. It's like, yeah, that's no problem. Um, awesome. And then another thing with Gallows Man 3 stuff is been reaching out to people to be a guest on their show and or review the first 2 issues of the Gallows Man. Um, that's been a great incentive for people. I mean, I've done that from the beginning. I've always been like,
Hmm.
hey, here, like, here's digital copy. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
sweet. Like, it's and like if I was in their place, I'd feel that way kind of whoever the creator was. It's like, ooh, I get almost like a exclusive like first look at it
Right.
before others or whatever, that sort of thing. But yeah, I've been messaging people about, hey, like could I be on your show or you review it and you review both issues 1 and 2 sort of thing. And it's been going good so far. I've been doing this for like over a month now, but I got 13 shows locked in uh, that I'll be on, and like specifically dates are set in stone, sort of thing. There's 8 shows that are confirmed, but they're like they don't schedule out that far. They schedule out like every couple weeks, sort of thing. So I'll likely have a date set for those in the next week or two, sort of thing. Um, got 6 YouTubers that will be making video reviews of the Gals Man 1 and 2. This is the first
Nice.
time I've had like YouTubers uh, uh, reviewing it, sort of thing. Usually in the past, I've just reached out to TikTokers where it's like, hey, can you review this? And TikTokers, by the way, like anyone that's doing a Kickstarter, if you're okay with sending someone a digital copy and them reviewing it, TikTok is like the best way to go for a review, sort of thing, because there are so many people that are down for doing it. Because ultimately, it's like a comic review is perfect for TikTok, because a comic review
Mhm.
usually is like 1 to 3 minutes long, sort of thing.
Right.
Realistically, that's an average comic review. Um, so yeah, I've done that route. I think this might be the most, and I'm still trying to get more as well. This might be the most reviewers I've had for a book, because I've got 16 TikTokers already like good to go, like sent them
Mhm.
the stuff. 6 YouTube reviewers, which there's not a lot of indie comic reviewers on YouTube. Um, but I have been able to find 5 or 6, so that's been good. Um, but yeah, for anyone out there, if you're trying to get people to review it and stuff, TikTok's the way to go. And I used to, when I first started out, I would like message people that write articles and like big blogs and that sort of stuff. And I had like some big blog stuff. I didn't have uh, uh, CBR. Couldn't get them to
Mhm.
review it, sort of thing. They'll review like big indie stuff, like something Wesley Snipes is attached to,
Mhm.
sort of thing. Um, but like, yeah, the articles and stuff is good, but like in terms of getting eyes on the thing, go with TikTok or go with YouTube. It is cool to see like an article about your thing, but yeah, if you just want to see an article about the thing, sure, do that.
Mhm. Right.
But don't like focus on sending it to articles and bloggers and stuff. Like, get TikTokers to look at it, get YouTubers to look at it. That's where you get the most
Mhm.
visibility with that sort of thing.
Did you see, Katie's, outreach to try and get more of a list
Yes.
of reviewers?
I actually had messaged her earlier that night, and I was like, hey, like, do you possibly know of any other YouTubers? Like, I sent her the ones that I had already sent
Mhm.
requests to and stuff. I was like, do you know any other YouTubers that do reviews of indie comics and or like have guest on, sort of thing? um, because I had basically went to the extent of what I knew in terms of all the YouTubers and stuff like that. I was like, do you know of any? If so, uh, don't have to do it anytime soon. Could you send me a couple recommendations, sort of thing? And then yeah, like a few hours later, she posted that. I was like, yes, thank you. And it wasn't just for me, because she had mentioned like right after I sent that message, she was like, this is actually perfect timing, because I've actually been making a list of this thing, because I've wanted to send it to indie creators that come onto my show. I've
Yeah,
wanted
because I
to
think
give them those.
inevitably she just gets, whoever she's has on after the
Yeah.
show is like, "Do you know anybody else I can be
Oh
on?"
yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah,
that's
for sure.
and she's like, yes and no."
Yeah.
Uh,
So it'll be very helpful in terms of uh YouTubers and stuff. I've kind of reached like the limit of what I know, as well as like reaching out to new people. Like, I've reached out to a ton of new people and stuff. So I'll wait and see about that list. TikTok's the one thing where I can just keep going. But I think I have reached almost a limit to like all the people that do modern comics and stuff, and it's not just like collecting stuff from like the 70s and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So it's going good. I think I've got a good lineup so far with all that stuff. Let's see if there were any more updates with this. Oh yeah, while doing all the Gallows Man 3 stuff, there's still all these other projects going on as well, which is interesting to see. I mean, like I love doing it, but yeah, Dismay Avenue 3, Curbsided 1, Day at the Con #1, uh, that project that I'm doing with 4 other artists. I started helping with edits on that 7-page comic I got hired for. Like they have an artist now and they're doing thumbnails and all that stuff. Um, and then also our Halloween mini comic. That's not bad at all though. None of this is bad, I should say. That sounds mean to all
It's
the
not
other
as
stuff.
intensive, but
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's not as
yeah.
you know. But yeah, it was really good getting to work on that with you to kind of. It really helped me dip my toe in the water with like collaboration, because I haven't done that with anybody else. So that will help me have a better idea, I think, of how to do that in the future. And if me and you have more projects in the future, it'll help
Oh yeah.
us do bigger things.
Yeah.
So looking forward to having that done, and um, and I think I will have to send you a video of how I put it together, um, because I have a little utensil that's like they call it. It's supposed to be some kind of bone or something that's like I don't know for what reason, but like it's not sharp, but it's like it has a lot of density to like take on some pressure, and you
Mhm.
pressure the edges down of the piece of paper, and that like really makes a good crisp like fold in the
Okay,
back of the
yeah.
paper. uh in each fold, like if you do it on each and every fold, it helps flatten that paper. um and then and you have to unfold it, you make a cut here, and then you put it all together like an accordion kind of thing, and then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
run the edge thing again. um and I have a feeling that uh it might need a if we trim it on the edges, if it gets trimmed, it'll need a adhesive in between papers, and I think rubber cement will work. I've got some rubber cement, so I might test
You
that
mean
out
like the
tomorrow.
blank pages between actual pages?
Mm-hmm.
I gotcha.
Because if you trim it, it'll cut all them.
Yeah, yeah.
The way it is it does have it. It it's all folded correctly to just flip like it's supposed
Right.
to. But when you trim it, that'll cut off some of those edges that hold it together,
Right.
and then you have blank pages in between. Now, that's not necessary, but if you do want it to look clean on the edges, it'll need a trim.
Okay. Yeah, that won't be bad. Yeah.
But yeah, I might need to make a tutorial on all that. And it is kind of time consuming, so you might like make 10 or 20 at a time.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then one day, or like at conventions, I was doing it with the zines, where in downtime I got to like make some more of them.
Oh, fun. Give me something to do at conventions during
Mhm.
the down.
uh, I wanted to say that September 14th and 15th is the Deep South Paracomic Con. It's going to be fun, and Brandon, it's not too late. It's
I
you're an
I
artist.
can't I can't on that weekend. I do have prior. I was about to say obligations. I hate when people say that and it's only like this small thing that's going on. When I
Mhm.
hear prior obligations, I think you're going to a funeral, you're going to a wedding.
Right.
But most of the time when people say prior obligations, it just means like I'm at this person's house or whatever.
Hmm.
I'm helping with this lawn care or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but I won't be able to. I wish I could, but unfortunately, I won't be able to.
They do have open spots for anybody that's interested in going. Um, and yeah, just going to be fun. A lot of the guests have been looking into me, and I've been looking into them, like the exorcist and the demonologist, and Litriana, who's like supposed to be a psychic and medium and stuff. And so it's going to be pretty interesting, at least. And I think they're updating some ways they have the layout and the setup and everything for it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Um, let's see what else. I felt like there was something else, but I can't think of it. I do want to let everybody know that there are just some few things I'm waiting on to be delivered, that will go as little extras into the distribution and fulfillment for the Kickstarter. But the comics are here and they're all in good condition, which is super surprising because I thought they would be the last thing that got here. Um, but if I could, I would love to go ahead and print labels and stuff, but there's like a 3-day like expiration date on those being used, so I have to
What
print them close.
what labels do you mean?
Like for the shipping labels, it's
Oh,
I think
okay, I
it says
got you.
they
I got
expire if you don't use
you.
them
Yeah.
after 3 days.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about like some other label. I was like, something I don't know.
No.
That's what happens. Anything with like indie comics or like Kickstarter stuff. If someone mentions something that I have never heard of, I'm always like taking mental notes because like I have to know all this stuff.
Well, Brendan, I feel it's safe to say that you know more. Um,
No, I'd
in
say
general,
like
as compared
I
to
might
me.
I might be knowledgeable about a decent bit of the Kickstarter slash indie stuff,
Hmm.
but knowledge does not mean great action. So there's that. The difference
All
between
right.
knowledge and wisdom, sort of thing.
Well, if you don't have anything else, we can. I've been Austin Light with American Demon Comics. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at American Demon Comics. And you can find me on Substack at American Demon Comics. And that's the best place to get updates. It's been slow because I don't have a whole lot of creation going on right now. Um, or at least I don't have new things being released. I might post some sneak peeks at the inks and everything that I've done, and post some more about the little Halloween project me and Brandon have been doing. But other than that, uh, it's a slow month, and I think next month will be relatively slow. But I plan on releasing all my updates more in chunks rather than pages, um, just because it feels like you get more out of each update that way. So uh, yeah, but yes, I'm at Substack, and uh, I've been joined by Brandon Ingram with Dismay Comics, who is on Facebook and Instagram at Dismay Comics, and has a Kickstarter coming up September 10th.
And by the end of the Kickstarter, I probably will have made a Substack based on all the stuff Austin said the past couple months, and I've seen his updates with it. Likely one of the things that I'll put in the what's it called, the backer survey. By that time, I'll have made a Substack, and then I'll probably put in there, would you like to sign up for the Substack sort of thing. So probably next couple months, I might have a Substack.
Which is awesome. I believe I could. Uh, I might ask. That's a good idea. I might reach out to everybody and ask them if they want to be a part of the Substack newsletter. A lot of them already are. The best way that I've built it up is by going to conventions.
Yeah, yeah.
But I have had a lot of organic growth from recommendations, the recommendation system, and people just finding me that were like associated with the Comic Lab Discord. Since I follow Brad, and Brad follows other people, those other people find me, and
Oh, okay, that's
so
cool.
um, I have had probably about 20 to 30 people of organic growth without me really having to post anything directly to them
Yeah, yeah.
or on the notes system. Um, and then I've probably added about 50 to 60 people through sign up lists at conventions. Um, and they do have their ups and downs and dips. So some people do unsubscribe
Mhm.
after a little bit, but for the most part, it's pretty good retention. So yeah, if Brandon gets a Substack, go subscribe.
Yeah, it'll beat me sending a bunch of people emails, because the only time I do that is, like, before a Kickstarter, when a Kickstarter launches, and right before a Kickstarter ends. Um, I don't do it to everyone I know the email of, but people that have showed interest in my thing, I have a list, and they usually get 3 emails during the time of a Kickstarter, basically.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me, Brandon, and we will see everybody next time.
Take care.